This conference will now be recorded.
I don't know what to mean. Okay. All right. All right. It is 12:30, folks, and we are going to get started. Thank you so much to everybody who is able to join us. Wilson Desktop. Oh, okay, cool. Hi, everybody. Miss Kim, Lisa, Joanna, Mr. or Miss Deweese. I'm not making any assumptions here. That's Miss Gwen. And Miss Barbara.
Yes.
All right. So today, as you guys know, we're talking about the World Class Workforce Initiative and the Workforce Initiative itself. And I'm going to go ahead and give it to Elizabeth.
Hi,
No time to
everybody.
waste.
It's so nice to see some of you, and thank you for joining us today. We are recording this, so any questions you have, feel free to ask, because if you have those questions, then other people most likely do as well. I'm going to be sharing my screen with you. I'm going to be pulling up a lot of different things to walk you through a few pieces of this. It's a very intricate grant with lots of parts to it. So here we go. The first thing I'm going to show you is the Workforce Initiative Grant. And I'm trying to get my screen to pull up right now. Okay, so we have been approved to release these grants from the Division of Early Learning. The Workforce Initiative Grant is the simpler of the two grants that we have going on right now. So as soon as my computer decides to catch up with what I would like it to do, we will have, I'm going to show you application number 1. Okay. All right, so hopefully you all can see this grant application. I can no longer see you all on my screen, so I'm going to rely on Lily to tell me if I need to pause and answer any questions. But can somebody let me know if you see an application on your screen that says Workforce Initiative Grant application number 1?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so this application, as well as its counterpart that I will go over, application number 2, have not been released to you yet. I anticipate that will be released to you probably this weekend, possibly Monday at the latest. So this portion of the grant is a grant that will pay both you as a provider, and then application number 2 will pay your staff and yourself for retention and training and the commitment that you all have made to the early learning industry. So this first application, it still says draft. When you receive it from us, it will not have draft on it. It will be ready to go. So these are pretty simple applications. This particular set of applications, they will be fillable through PDF, and they will be, you'll be able to upload them to your provider portal in the document library. That's where currently you put your direct deposit form. So there are 2 folders in that document library already made for you. And so when you're done completing these applications, you're going to upload them into each folder along with the backup documentation. And we will have staff that go through each application, process it, and then send it over to our finance department for payment. Okay. This first application is for you as a provider. Now, this set of grants it is required that you are contracted with the coalition for either school readiness or VPK, and you can be out of county contracted with us to receive and apply for this grant. That was a big question that we got the other day. So as you can see, the first part is pretty simple. It is the demographic information. You will need your provider ID number as listed in your provider portal. We will need your site capacity as listed on your license or your license exempt, or if you go through DCF for your health and safety as a school readiness provider, you should have your site capacity. Why do we need that, I wonder? So as you go through the grant purpose, this particular portion of the grant is to provide eligible and contracted providers a reimbursement of the portion of the costs that you have incurred to onboard new staff from July 1st, 2022 up until you submit this application, okay? Reimbursement can be requested with accompanying receipts for the following purchases. And actually what I'm going to do is update this application because we've actually made it more simple. We don't need receipts in a way. So we'll get down there. So the things you want to keep in mind are these are staff that you hired on or after July 1st of 2022, and you paid for a level 2 background screening, a drug testing, or any initial training exams for them, okay? The deadline to submit this application is June 15th, 2023. And that is so that we can have everybody processed by the end of the month. The funding, how funding will be awarded for this is based on that capacity that we talked about earlier. So if your site has a capacity of up to 12 children, you are eligible for $500 per new employee that you hired from July 1st, 2022 up until you submit this application, with a maximum of 2 employees that we will reimburse you for. So there's up to $1,000 that you can receive. And the capacities and the amount ranges based on, as you can see on the graph there, 13 to 20, we will reimburse you for up to, I think it's 4, up to 74 in your capacity, then it goes on and on and on. So our bigger sites have a reimbursement max of $5,000. Let me pause and see if there are any questions so far. And I can't see you, so I need somebody to tell me.
Does
Okay.
anyone have any questions?
I'm going to keep going. As long as there's nothing in the chat, then I'm going to keep going.
Yep,
So
I don't see anything.
Thank you. Here is where, and please note that we are asking for this information because the grant requires us to through DEL. So the instructions for filling out this portion of your grant application is, this is where you're going to claim your staff. So for each new hire since July 1st, and I see a typo there, so we're going to fix that, 2022. That's why it says draft. So when you get them, they will not say draft. Since July 1st, 2022, enter the teacher's name and answer all the questions in that line. So basically, you're going to go line by line, and the first teacher that you hired that you paid for, remember, you have to have paid for their drug screening and their background screening. This is the backup documentation that we're asking for. That's why I'm going to update that language on the first page from receipt, and I'll actually update it here too. We need to see the level 2 background screen that you paid for and the drug screening. Those are the backup documentations. For the drug screening, it actually may be your receipt that you're uploading. We don't need to see results of drug screenings. We just need to see where you paid for the drug screening yourself so that we can reimburse you directly. If you are a site that requires new hires to pay for their own background screening and drug screening and initial exams, then you would not be eligible for this grant. So here you're going to check the 2 boxes as you gather your documents, the level 2 background screening, and it can be just a summary of that background screening and the drug screen. The staff name and their position goes here, their hire date here, and then you're just going to answer these 2 questions. They will not impact whether or not you receive the reimbursement, but it is information that DEL is gathering on all of our new hire teachers. So you're going to fill this out for as many teachers as you are claiming. Remember to go back up to that first page to look at how many you are eligible for. So if you're only eligible to claim 2 employees, you're just going to fill out the first 2, and that will save you from having to gather extra documentation. The third page of this, there's always certifications with every grant application we have. So you're going to be certifying that you are contracted in good standing with the coalition for either school readiness and or VPK. You're going to understand that reimbursement is available up to the amount shown and based on site capacity, be reimbursed with appropriate backup documentation and as funding is available. So we do have a limited amount of funding for this particular grant. So it is first come, first serve as you upload into MOD, and then we're going to ask you to send an email. When you upload this grant, we're going to ask you to send an email to arpa@elc-marion.org, letting us know that you have uploaded your information. And then the third certification that you understand that you can be reimbursed once per claimed staff member. Okay. Now, the new thing that we updated with this is that the staff do not have to still be at your site. We had a lot of questions about that when we were first trying to roll this out, and we decided we understand that it's a very fluid nature, early learning, and that oftentimes teachers hop from site to site. So you can claim the teacher even if they are no longer at your site because you incurred those costs. The signature page here, we are going to make that an electronic signature, and then you'll check this little box. You're going to upload these documents along with your backup documentation. Remember, that's the drug screening receipt and the background screening for each teacher you're claiming. And then our staff will use this. Now, what I will tell you about our staff is while you're used to dealing with a certain names here at the coalition and certain staff, we are in the process of hiring some short-term staff that are going to come on board and help us process all this paperwork so that we can pay you timely. That is the end of the first application. Do I have any questions?
There's nothing in the chat. And I don't, guys, feel free to unmute yourselves if you have a question.
Yep. Okay, I'm going to go to the next screen. Hopefully I won't click myself out of here. So the next application is a little more detailed. This one is where you're going to work with your staff. Give me just a second to get it on my screen. Okay. Do you all see workforce grant application number 2 on your screen? It has a peach color on it.
Yes.
Awesome.
And on the right-hand side, there's a little plus sign if you guys need to make it bigger.
I can also try to make it a little bit bigger if I need to. I feel like that's going to make it too big. There we go. Okay.
There we go.
This grant is going to really support you and your staff members who have been working with you for a long time, okay? This particular piece, and again, this gets uploaded to your provider portal in the document library. There is a folder that is named the same thing. It's named Workforce Initiative Grant Application 2 Upskilling and Retainment, or /retainment. So here, this first page, that page you are going to complete as the provider. It's your demographic information, and it goes through your site name, address, phone number, email. We do need your provider ID. We ask for that because when we are researching things, we often type in your provider ID because it helps us make sure we're looking at the correct provider. We have some of you have very similar site names, and we want to make sure that we're looking at the right provider when we look at this stuff. It's going to ask you if you are a school readiness or VPK provider. If you're both, you're just going to check both boxes. And then the grant purpose, this is to basically thank you for your commitment to early learning. We've been through a lot through the pandemic. You've been just a monumental force for the parents so that they can continue to go back to work and to just keep our community going with quality childcare services. So this is to really pay cash money to you and your providers for the work you continuously do and for all of the professional development you all have been doing for a while. So to get into it, this first page, it just breaks down how the payments will go. So there is an initial base amount based on the length of employment. So you as the owner or director can fill this out, and then you're going to actually give the second page to each one of your staff to fill out. And you can decide if you already have all of their backup documentations on file, then you can just have them sign the document, the second page when we get there, and you can upload everything, or you can hand it to them and make it their responsibility to get it back to you timely so that you can upload it. So talking about the base here, there's a base award grant. So your new staff that have been with you for 30 days and up to 6 months will have a base award grant of $250. Now, if they come to you and they already have their CDA or FCCPC, they'll get an additional $150. Those of you that have your director credential, these stack right through here. All of these stack, which means you'll get your base award. We're just going to go with the 250. Then you're going to add the 150 for that CDA, because if you have your director's credential, you probably have that. And then for the director's credential, you're going to receive an additional bonus of $250. Now, if you are a VPK director with that VPK endorsement, you're going to get an additional $300. So it keeps going. We're adding it up. We're really trying to thank you and show you how much we appreciate all the effort that you have committed to our industry and our families and our children. Now, those of you that have taken the time to enroll in special endorsements, like the special needs endorsement or trauma-informed care, then you will get an additional $100 for each one of those. Okay. Now moving forward, these are non-stackable, so it's either or. It's based on your highest degree. If you have all of this stuff and you have an associate's degree, you're going to get an additional $500. If you don't have any of this stuff, but you have an associate's degree in early childhood ed or a related field, which is typically like human services, anything human services, we would have to look at it and kind of decide individually, but you would be eligible for $500 on top of your base award grant. Or if you have a bachelor's degree, master's, or doctoral degree, you will get an $1,000 bonus on top of your base award grant, plus all of these certification bonuses. Let me pause and see if there are any questions.
Liz, can you hear me? I have a real quick question. This is Tracy.
Go ahead.
So if our teachers don't already have the endorsement for like the special classes, can they take them now or before we submit everything, or does it have to already be on there by a certain date?
So that's a great question, Tracy. Thank you. So with those special endorsements, I would tell you hold off on submitting your application. They do have to be finalized, and you have to have the backup documentation in hand when you submit your application. So this application is due May 31st. So if you have people that you know are processing and going through that, then you're going to want to have them, you're going to want to hold off on submitting your application until closer to the end of May, or giving them the chance to finish that piece.
Okay, because I have an employee that's finishing her CDA this weekend. It's her
Perfect.
last like weekend class. So I just wanted to make sure that it didn't have to be completed by a certain time. Thank you.
You're welcome. So yeah, that's perfect timing for that particular staff member. So that person is going to get a bonus. So this is a nice little chunk. The other piece about this is, as we go through this, and when I get to the second page, we're going to ask each of your teachers, we're going to ask you to please get a W-9 and a direct deposit from each of your teachers so that we can directly pay them. You will not be responsible for getting the funding and then releasing it back out to them. We are going to cut checks or direct deposits, which is ideal and quicker, directly to your staff, so you won't have to worry about that. Okay, and the W-9, I do believe that this is taxable income, so it would be part of their income. So at the end of the year, we send a 1099 to anybody that received money from us so that they can use that on their taxes when they file. Are there any other questions before I go into the actual backup documentation?
There is nothing in the chat. Oh, wait. What about someone in the middle of renewing CDA? Oh,
So,
Lisa. Yeah, there you go.
Okay, so somebody renewing their CDA, it goes back to what Tracy asked. Basically, you're just going to want to hold off on submitting the application until closer to when they're done, but it has to be in by midnight on May 31st, 2023. And I think I just saw another question pop up, but it disappeared before I could see what it said from Emily.
I am sorry. When can we start these applications?
So these two applications have not been released to you yet, and that has been purposely done because the workforce has been such a big bear for everybody to understand and kind of work through. So these will be released either tomorrow, because I will be in the office tomorrow, or which is Saturday for those listening at a later date, or at the latest on Monday. So these haven't come out yet. And these applications, this one and application number 1 that I reviewed first, will be uploaded to your provider portal through the document library. There are specific folders that match your application headings where you're going to upload the application plus any associated backup documentations for that one.
And Emily says, thank you. Sorry if you had
You're
to repeat
welcome. It's
it.
okay.
And for
And,
later date, today's April 21st, just in case this recording gets viewed later.
And
think we have one more
last
question.
thing about that, does it need to be your director that's on? I have several people with CDAs. I have 3 people with director credentials. Does it need to just be your director specifically, or anybody that has that endorsement that's like valid?
Let me go back up to this. So this is going to be, this first page you're going to fill out. It's going to be basically you saying that you as a provider saying that these people that have applications following this first page all work for you. So that you're going to fill out this first form. And then when we go down, each staff member, you're going to give this page, I'm sorry, not this first and second page is for you. It's this third page. You're going to give this page to your staff, or you're going to work with them individually to fill out this document and collect the backup documents. So each staff is eligible for their own check, for their own bonus. Does that make sense?
Right. So if I have 3 people on staff that have a director's credential, they will all get it. It doesn't have to just be one that's listed as my specific director.
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
As long as they have that backup documentation. So it can either be a transcript, and we're going to go through that here in just a second. It can either be a transcript or it can be an actual certificate from a reputable place. Of course, it has to count towards them being able to work in the early childhood industry. But that they will all be able to build their own bonus basically. So here, this is the third page of this application. So the first 2 pages, you as the provider, you're going to fill that out. It has those attestations on it again. You do have to be contracted with the coalition to participate in this one. The staff for this one do have to be employed with you right now. That's a little bit different than the first application I went over. So this one, that you are verifying that they are with you, okay? So here is the staff's name. So I'm going to use my Lily because she's here with me on this call. Liliana Howard's name would go here. Her phone number, not your phone number, Lily's phone number would go here. And Lily's personal email address will go here. And then her hire date, because we have to prove that they are currently employed with you. So hire date, they need to be working right now or as you submit this application with you. So their hire date could be also, what do you think we're going to use that hire date for, is to determine, let me go back up top, what that base is. So their hire date is going to determine this piece right here, okay? So if they were hired, today is April 21st, if they were hired on April 20th, you know, you're going to wait to submit it first of all, so that those people can get the 30 days in and get their $250 base.
So we do have a question about the hire date.
Okay, go ahead.
What if someone had a break in employment at the beginning of the pandemic, but came back quickly? So I guess it's like they rehired. Am I understanding that correctly, Lisa?
I would go with their most recent hire date for that. Because
So
if they left, yeah, it would be their most recent hire date, because that's what we're going to go. The whole point of this is to really reward people who have been able to stay in the industry. So the most recent hire date for anybody that had a break in employment.
Okay.
So here in the first part of this, then we're talking about when they were hired. So you're going to check the right day. So you're going to put the hire date here, and in here you're going to say if it was 30 days, you're going to check here. If it was 6 months to 12 months, you're going to check here. 1 to 3 years, you're checking here. 3 to 5 years, 6+ years. There's people that have been with you for a long time. $2,000 is their base. Okay. The backup documentation for this, you're going to have to submit pay stubs. One for the original hire date and one to show the current date that they've still been employed with you. Or some of you use payroll companies and can just get a report for this person. What I would say is try to get an individual report because it needs to go with each individual teacher's piece. So we don't want to cross the confidentiality of one teacher to another. Not that anybody else is going to see this, but we want to be safe. The coalition staff will be the only ones to see this, and DEL if they monitor us. The other option, if pay stubs are not available, we will take a letter. The coalition is going to release a letter to you that you can sign and fill out. It's basically going to be a verification of employment, but it's going to have the information that we need on it. So we will release that out with this application. And then you can use that in lieu of pay stubs. Also, when we release this application, I will include a blank W-9 and a blank direct deposit form because there are specified ones that we need. So I will also include that. Let me pause because I believe I saw somebody has a question.
Go ahead, Ms. Gwen.
Okay, my question is family homes now, we don't have like pay stubs that they may be receiving. So is it sufficient for they to use their DCF transcript or even where they had their background screening?
For this one, for the verification of employment, we're going to give you a document to fill out and upload with it for that purpose for you all. The transcript, though, definitely can come in handy to show what training when we get down to that part. But for proving how long they've been employed with you or how long you've been in business, we can take this verification letter that we're going to give you.
Great. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And let me see, Lily, do you see any other questions about the length of employment or proof of employment?
So I did have someone ask a question. They stated that they were not rehired. So I reiterated that that if they're not working with them presently, they would not qualify for the length of employment.
Correct.
Grant.
They wouldn't qualify for this grant at all if they're not currently employed with you.
And that's what I reiterated. And that's it.
Thank you. So going down to the certification and secondary education, so each bonus in here, you're going to check which bonus you're supplying backup documentation for. So if the person has a CDA or an FCCPC, you're going to check this box and make sure you have a copy of the certificate or the transcript that shows that, as well as the date they received it or achieved it. The director's credential, the same thing, credential with the VPK endorsement. Now your transcript may show all of this, which is perfect. You only have one piece of backup documentation and that would suffice for all of this. The special needs endorsement, you're going to make sure that you have whatever, it's usually probably a certificate. And that will do to show that. But you're going to check that box because when we see these boxes checked, that's how we're going to look for the backup documentation, okay? The associate's degree or related field or a bachelor's degree, you can go with one or the other of this. So, but remember, we will need either a copy of transcripts or a copy of the actual degree. And then the teacher is actually going to sign this, and they can sign it electronically, but the teacher is signing this, verifying that this information is true about them. So let me pause and see what questions we have about that.
Okay, Lisa, would you like to unmute and clarify your question to make sure that it's understood properly? Oh, you don't know how. Okay. So if you hover your arrow towards the bottom of your screen, you'll see some icons come up, and there'll be one that looks like a microphone, and you'll click it till it turns green. But if I'm understanding your question correctly, you're saying they are currently working. I'm asking about the staff who may have taken a month off when the pandemic began, have been working over 14, 15 years with us, and is still working with us. So
That wouldn't be a break in employment.
So you would go, her hire date would be
Whenever you originally hired her. So unless you actually terminated her employment and then rehired her back, then that would not be considered a break in employment.
Does that answer your question, Lisa? Okay. Yes, thank you, she says.
Awesome. Do you see any other questions in there?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so this page 3 is the page you're going to work individually with each one of your teachers. I would give that to them and have them collect the backup documentation for you. The verification letter, we are going to provide that when we release the applications to you. So you're going to want to look for that. I'm going to actually do 2 different emails for releasing this particular grant. I'm going to do one for application number 1 and one for application number 2 with different instructions, basically what I just told you today. So these are all going to be uploaded to your provider portal. And from there, you're going to go into your document library and find the matching folder that says Workforce Initiative Grant Application number 1 or number 2, and they actually match, the folder names match. If there are no more questions about this particular one, this was the easy one, so I'll be ready to move on to the other one.
I'm checking.
Okay,
Does
I see
it matter
one
if they are full-time or part-time?
It does not. We're not even asking that information. They just have to be employed with you.
And I gave a minute for people to type. And no more questions, Elizabeth.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay, give me a second. I'm going to transition us over to the World Class Workforce Grant.
Well, I don't know about you all, but I was looking at how I can make a lot of money if I really got to fill that out for real.
For real. She says that because we filled them out for fake. To test them out.
I hope everybody takes advantage of that workforce initiative. That's
so.
a lot of money to be had.
I hope so too. So the next grant we're going to move on to, okay, we do have one more question. It looks like Miss Gwen,
go for it.
Okay. To keep them from being confused, on those special need and the endorsement for the special need training and the trauma training, is that actually an endorsement or that's the training that they have?
It's an endorsement. It's a specialized endorsement. So if they, to be honest with you, if they participated in that endorsement piece, they will know exactly what we're looking for with that.
Okay.
And I will tell you, there is a new micro literacy credential. I'm saying that wrong. There's a
Emergent
new
micro credential.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's that endorsement that people are participating in right now. That one is not a part of this particular grant, and here's why. In August or September of this year, the Division of Early Learning is actually going to reimburse people $2,000 for participating in finishing that micro-credential. So if you have staff that have been teetering on the line of whether they want to do it or not, there is some time still to do it, but there is a stipend coming. It will not be released until this fall, but it's going directly through the Division of Early Learning, DEL, and it'll be right around $2,000 for that.
Yes, I will complete that June the 3rd.
Wonderful. So then you'll definitely want to look forward to that other stipend coming out in the fall then. Let me get to